you had a midlife pivot that was unexpected. At that point, we knew something was wrong, and we took her to the emergency room, and they diagnosed her with, she had had 3 strokes. 3 strokes, okay. Moving forward, she won't be able to do that. And I was like, okay, so who's gonna take care of her? I try to emphasize to my clients is that we don't leave you.
My guest today is Chaundy Satterwhite. Chaundy is the founder and CEO of Gin Gap Living, but she is also one of my dearest friends. We were actually bridesmaids in each other's weddings how many years ago? But Chaundy is, like me, a lifelong educator whose path took a turn when her beloved mother suffered multiple strokes, developed dementia, and as a result, needed full-time care. Chaundy found herself having to navigate the world of senior care with little or no guidance. But she quickly learned a lot on her own and eventually built resources and a network of professionals that specialized in this area. Her experience led her to want to help others exactly like her, and she wanted to share that knowledge of her experiences with helping others properly funnel through the chaos of finding the best care for their aging or ailing parents. This is when Gin Gap Living was born. So if you listen up, if you find yourself or a loved one that might be in this situation trying to navigate through the different resources that are necessary for caring for an aging or ailing parent, this is the episode for you.
Hello, Chaundy Satterwhite.
How's it going, Miss Willery?
It's good, it's good.
I remember when you were Walker.
I know. I remember. We're gonna be grown up. We're gonna be grown up for this episode.
Yeah.
But you were Chandrika Floyd.
I was.
Yeah. So we go back a very long time. We
do.
Baby teachers together.
Yep.
And you had just relocated to Houston when we became friends. Mm-hmm. And then all of those early big girl careers. And then in each other's weddings.
Yes.
Watched our babies be born. Now babies are gone.
No.
We done pushed them
empty
out.
nesters now. Yeah.
Empty nesters, and we've both experienced some pivots. So
absolutely.
You've continued to relocate a few times. So I mean, you definitely would follow opportunities. So I definitely have always admired that about you.
Thank you.
But you had a midlife pivot that was unexpected.
I did.
So with everything that you've been through, you're at this point in your life where empty nester, who knows what other things you could be pursuing, but you had a change that happened that led to the founding of your company, which is Gin Gap Living.
Correct.
So tell us what personal experiences led to that.
Oh gosh, I remember that like it was yesterday. And that was actually 7 years ago, January 21st.
7 years, okay.
Yeah. My mom didn't show up for church one Sunday. Mm-hmm. And my aunt and I usher. And so she normally comes through our door. Mm-hmm. And we were just like, she's a little late. You know, she's not a little late. Anyway, make a long story short, in regard to that, she never came, and church started and ended. And we were like, let's go by the house and check on her. You know, we go by the house, and there she was. Her door was unlocked. And she was laying in her bed, all miscombobulated. And at that point, we knew something was wrong. And we took her to the emergency room, and they diagnosed her with, she had had 3 strokes.
3 strokes, okay.
And was clueless, you know, was like, oh my goodness, you know. And so went through the whole shebang of, you know, them running tests to find out what's going on. And as she was in the hospital, it was all these different nurses and different doctors coming in with different diagnoses of what it looks like moving forward. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and they kept asking the question, she lived independently? She lived independently? And I was like, yeah. I mean, moving and shaking, doing her thing. And they were like, no, well, moving forward, she won't be able to do that. And I was like, okay, so who's gonna take care of her?
Yeah.
And of course, they recommended rehabilitation. They recommended all these different services, getting her back on her feet. Because at that time, she could talk, but she was her mobility was limited. And so, as we got ready to check out, the nurse hands me a list of all these different rehabs and sent me on my way. And I was just like, okay, what's next? You know?
Yeah.
And they were like, she will no longer be able to be independent. She's going to have to live with somebody. And so I had 1,000 questions. I was like, okay, tell me what that looks like.
Yeah.
But at that point, they were like, go to the rehab, they'll guide you. So, of course, you know, what's the first thing you do? You go online and you Google the best rehabs to make sure that wherever place they placed her is good. And so the place they had originally placed her, I was just like, oh my goodness, no, it has a such and such rating and da-da-da-da-da. I want to move her. I found this other place. Anyway, found another place that was rated on Google, you know, a decent score, got her there, and the treatment was unbelievable in a negative way. And when I say a negative way, it was just so robotic. It wasn't nurturing. It wasn't, you know, I'd go and I'd check on her. I'd get off from work. I'd come back. She was sold. I'd found out she hadn't eaten all day, and it was just, it was not good. So then I immediately was like, okay, let me find another, you know, rehab. So anyway, as I'm going through all of this, I'm learning because no one is guiding me through it. I mean,
there's no guidebook.
Zero. And I'm sitting here going, okay, how can I find out more about, you know, these facilities? Because honestly, Google isn't legit. Because if it was, I wouldn't be, you know, moving her from one place to the other.
Right.
And so that goes on. And in the meantime, I'm having to move her out of her home. And mind you, I had no access to her financials. I had no access of, you know, she has a will, but, you know, you have to have power of attorney. You have to have...
Because none of this was expected.
None of it was expected. Mine was a mover and a shaker doing her thing. Of course, she has some ailments. You know, she's diabetic, and her sugar levels took her to... This is what really took her over there. She wasn't taking care of her diabetes.
Oh, okay. Remind me to ask you about that, because that's a whole story.
Yeah, she was not taking care of her diabetes. She would let her levels get really high, and this time it got so high to where that's what triggered those 3 strokes.
Wow. Okay, so you've got the news that your mom has had a critical medical emergency. You are pretty much handed your mother back. Just say, go figure it out. She's in a severe state. You got to go figure it out.
Right.
That's one just complete mind-blowing experience. But then because she was active, because she was independent, there's a whole household that has to be
Absolutely
taken care of.
readjusted.
And she was not in the same city with you either.
No, that's right. She was not. Yeah, she wasn't far, but she was probably about a good 50-minute away. I lived South Austin, and she lived North Austin.
Yeah. And so that, we think of a lot of different things, you know, when or if, you know, something happens to mama, something happens to daddy or whatever. But I guess we all take for granted that there'll be a sign.
Yeah.
There'll be a warning to trigger all of the actions.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, y'all, this is step 1.
That's right.
Now we put everything into action.
It's not like a pregnancy, you know. I mean, we know exactly what's getting ready to happen. Exactly. No, it was nothing.
And it wasn't like that. So you did what we would all do. You went to Google.
Yeah.
Who was going to give me the answers?
Yes.
And the answers you got were not satisfactory.
Oh, no, not at all.
So how do you go from I need answers to launching a service that serves that person you were at that moment?
Well, as the months went on and I learned more, because I had to figure out what kind of insurance she had, you know. Did not know that, you know, there's a difference between Medicaid and Medicare. Did not know, you know, supplemental insurance. Didn't know anything about a VA benefit. I mean, all of that stuff was new. I mean, I didn't find out about her VA benefits until 2 years in. 2 years in, yeah. And they were like, oh, yeah, she could have got, you know, and I'm like, Didn't know.
Didn't know. Didn't
No
know
one
that
tell-
you
no.
don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And so as I'm going through all of this and trying to figure out, caregiver, and mind you, remember, I'm still a mom at this point.
Yeah.
I'm raising an 11-year-old at that time. Wow. Yes, he was 11 years old.
Okay.
And I was in the middle of transitioning jobs.
Yeah.
And
You have everyday life going on,
yep.
and none of that stopped.
No, the bills kept coming as well as life.
The light company still wanted their money.
That's right.
Oh,
That's right.
and
Yeah.
and then and I'm joking, making fun of it, but your mom's household
Yeah.
is still, having to be. So what was that like?
So we had to end up moving her out of her home. And oh my gosh, my mom's had 4 pods of furniture and belongings and 2 swords.
Oh, in addition to her house.
Yes. So when we moved her stuff out of her house, I had to get 4 pods and put those on my aunt's property. And then I had 2 storages. Yes. Yes. I mean, just so much. And my whole mindset at that time was, oh, she's going to come out of this and then we can move
And
her
then
back
we'll
into
take
a
care.
home.
Yeah.
So it never hit me that, you know what, Chaundy, she's not going to go back into half this furniture. She's not going to need half this stuff anymore.
Yeah.
It was just one of those situations where I was just like, okay, we're going to put this to the side for her, and when she recovers, she'll get it back.
Yeah.
And as time went on, I just know her stroke level, never got to that point to where she would be able to live independently anymore. And so the whole time I'm going through that, I'm sitting here going, I cannot imagine someone else going through what I'm going through and not know.
Yeah.
The advantage, again, being an educator, what we do, we research. Being an educator, what we do, we sit down and we make phone calls and we network and try to figure it out. And so that's what I started to do is I started to research, just all of these different avenues of what if someone was not like me, someone who doesn't have a degree, and knowing how to maneuver different time stamps and different organization skills, all of that. And so anyway, make a long story short, that's when I said, you know what, I'm gonna set up a little LLC to figure out, if there's someone else out there like that, I want to help them.
Right.
And then next thing I know, I'm running into people like our age. Oh, my father just had a fall, and I don't know, I'm getting ready to, and I'm like, hey, you need to check this. Don't go by this. He also can receive someone's, and they had no clue.
You got a full education.
Yeah.
Unintentionally.
Totally unintentional. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So, well, when people start coming out of the woodwork, and maybe I'm just trying to make sure. So you had this happen to you.
Correct.
You're going through it. You're learning piece by piece. Did people just hear about what happened to Mom and they start reaching out, or did you think on your own, like, okay, this is a service? Which part happened first?
No one reached out to me. It was me that, as I kept learning more and more, especially when I got down to the financials, and when I got down to the logistics of understanding that, guess what? She's sick now. Yes, she's recovered, but again, guess what? As they get older, more ailments come forward. And so I'm learning more about memory care. I'm learning more about the difference between an assisted living versus a skilled nursing, all of those different things. And so when that started kicking in, and then, like I said, when her dementia kicked in, I had to figure out, okay, is she going to maybe one day need memory care? So you want to be able to not move them around, because the whole point of, as they get older, is consistency, routine, all of that. Because I caught as she started to, when she was living with me, that the routine was critical. I mean, any kind of change would just throw her off. I mean, I'm talking about throw her off with eating habits, throw her off with sleep habits, toiletry habits, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I just started researching. It was just like, I want to be prepared this time since it's in front of me. And so from there I started, putting pieces together and talking to different people. And I started having, when people would come in to help her, like home health, I'd start asking more questions. Her doctor visits, all of that, you know. And so it was just amazing. The more and more I'd go and I'd talk to different people, it was not a service like that out there. Yeah.
So with your clients, when they come to you and, you know, say for instance, they'll listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, okay, something happened to mama, or something just happened to daddy. I need to call Gen Gap and have a conversation. Do they need to come prepared with anything, or do they just, you meet them where they are?
Absolutely.
And start piecing things together?
Absolutely. What I would do is we would sit down and really they just give me the whole overview of their situation, you know. And I mean, because there's so many pieces to it. And that's what's so unique also about my business is that it's tailored to you. That's why it's considered a concierge. It's more, everyone's situation is different. You know, there's some families that know exactly about their mom's financials. They know her insurance.
All their medications.
They know all her medication. And then there's some that are like, hey, I don't even live in the city. I live out of state. I had a client, in fact, that I dealt with that was living in Florida. And the son lived in Austin and was like, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I need your help, you know, because he's in another state. And so it's really interesting that, you know, when they do come, yes, absolutely meet them where they are. And, but like what really I try to emphasize to my clients is that we don't leave you. You know, you have a lot of people that are, okay, here, this is what you do, this is what you start, and here are all the check boxes. And then the check boxes are done, and then the company goes away. But we don't do that. We stay with you. You know, we follow up, you know, and you can sign up to where we are either going to do a one-time deal for you to get your parents back on their feet, or you can sign up and really do a monthly thing to where, you know what, Miss Chaundy, I need you to go, you know, make sure that, you know, he's getting his meds, that the caregiver is doing what they're supposed to do, that he is answering the phone and going to his doctor's appointments, you know. I need to make sure that he has all the proper equipment in his home to get around, you know, all those. It's so many logistics to it, to where as they age, you know, versus, you know, you don't want to do a one pop thing and then next thing you know, 6 months later, something else happens and you got to call me back and you start all over again. Versus with Gen Gap, we have those records. We know Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson was with us, has been with us for 2 years, and now Mr. Johnson unfortunately declined a little bit. And so now, you know what, we suggest we maybe want to do this now. Or, you know what, the caregiver shared that the doctor is thinking X, Y, and Z. And so, you know, all of that paperwork, all of those particulars, you know, we try to maintain and make it more personable, you know.
So they're coming to you and you call it a concierge service? So I think concierge, I'm thinking you go, you know, recommend restaurants, you're going to go recommend where I can get my hair done.
Right.
But you're recommending something totally different.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
What we do is we do the research for you, you know, instead of you like I said, go to Google and you just look up what ratings or whatever, you know. A lot of people don't realize that the state in itself has all of the information of the true ratings of those facilities, you know, whether or not the people that are working there are qualified, whether or not they've had so many citations, whether or not, and so that's where you get the real data and the real good information is when you go to the Texas Department of Protective Services.
Okay.
And all of that information is in there to let you know about any facility of what's going on. You know,
now,
I mean, when they go and do their inspections, you can pull all that information.
Ooh, I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and just like your experience, if I get a phone call right now, I don't know what where I'm looking, who I'm calling, especially if it's obviously unexpected, but it's like, you know, we're not prepared for this. And, you know,
long-term insurance. Didn't know what that was.
Tell me about that.
Oh my gosh. So you're sitting there and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, she has Medicare, she has supplementary, she has Cigna, she has all of this, right? And then I was just like, okay, so what? And they were telling me, well, does she have long-term care insurance? I'm just like, well, what is that?
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, it's a particular insurance that pays for her to go into an assisted living, and there's so much, that goes toward that that is paid for.
Okay.
And I'm just like, oh, I don't know. And then I go and I took me months to figure out whether she had that, because again, you're digging and you're calling the insurances, you're calling and then it's not always through those particular insurances. Normally, it's a supplemental insurance that you get, kind of like Akilah, with the disability, long-term disability. And so found out she did not have it, because if you do have long-term care insurance, that's amazing, because that pays for an assisted living place, which is so expensive. I mean, the cheapest you'll find is $5,000 to $6,000 a month. Oh yeah, for stuff like that.
Okay.
And so, but it takes such a huge burden off of you, because they get fed, they get their clothes washed, they have like a bitty apartment, and so I mean, again, unexpected. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those that you just don't think you need, or think it's gonna happen right then and there, and so it's so much. What's even more hard, what really got me overall, is when I started digging in, and how you hear so much, especially us as educators, there's so much advocacy for children, but there's no advocacy for the seniors. And it's heartbreaking. You're sitting there and you're on the phone and you're on the phone 45 minutes waiting for someone to tell you, oh, well, no, sorry, let me transfer you to so-and-so. And it's so robotic and so cold-hearted when she only has this, she has, oh, well, I'm sorry, does she have, and I'm sitting here going, we're talking about a woman who's worked her whole life, has paid her dues, has double insurance, retirement plan, the whole 9 yards, and nobody is fighting for them. And you're just like, it's heartbreaking, because I mean, you go to the grocery stores and you see, the elderly, they don't pack our groceries like they used to. How when we were growing up in our era, that was normal for them to pack pack your groceries and take them to your car.
Right.
You see them get in their car and they barely can back up their car. Just the simple things, I just ran into a lady at the dentist's office. She was trying to park her car and she couldn't park it. And me and Corbin were in there, and Corbin got out and asked her if it was okay if he parked it. And she was so grateful. And I was just like, gosh. And
that was just one moment in her day.
Moment. And it was just out the blue, you just saw her. And I'm just like, oh my gosh.
And she probably had 1,000 more moments like that throughout the day.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so we offer that as well, that's something I just ended up implementing that I saw was a need, and that's getting them to and from their doctor's appointments.
Okay. So, I mean, with everything that you've learned and with the services that you provide, I'm now wondering, what conversations do we need to be having with mom and dad about their coverage, what their wishes are, things like that, because I'm thinking about your mom. I'm going back, 'cause I remember your mom's house in Corpus.
Yes.
And, big fancy furniture.
Everywhere.
Solid wood.
Girl, solid, yes.
Hers, everybody can put this picture in their head. This was the kind of furniture that you should have had plastic over.
Exactly.
We shouldn't have been allowed to sit on it.
We don't sit on this furniture.
This the good furniture.
I'm telling you, y'all go in there.
Y'all go in the other room.
Exactly. It's where grown folks sit.
That's right. Don't walk on the carpet. Walk on the plastic.
Yes.
So she's got a house full of this.
Yeah.
She's got multiple pods and storage units. And so I'm just thinking, number one, that's a lot. So, I mean, to have a conversation, Mom, if something happens, where do you want all this?
That's right.
What are your wishes for all your stuff? I mean, what should we be doing?
Because that's more materialistic. That's probably like a 5% of the 100% that you need to ask.
Okay.
And most of it is really just asking about their wishes. It's about their wishes and what they currently have. And it's a hard conversation, it really is. It's a very sensitive conversation of like, okay, can you tell me what kind of insurance you have? Do you have VA? I mean, what does it provide? Do you have a life insurance policy?
Yeah.
Are your wishes to be, buried? Do you have a plot already?
Yeah.
All of these little things, and that's more on the long-term side. But on the current side, like I didn't know her medications. I mean, how growing up, a grandma, and then I'm good. My sugar ain't good.
My sugar is
my
up.
sugar's high.
My sugar's up.
My sugar's high. And
My
you're just
pressure is up.
Yes. And so you're like, okay. And so now when we go to the doctor, it has in there tell us about your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother. Those are important conversations.
And we don't talk about that.
You don't talk about that.
We don't talk about it. We probably are continuing the lifestyle that caused it.
That's right.
You
What
know.
happened in this house stays.
Yeah. You know, well, not only that, the health conversation, but
I'm
the
all
insurance
right.
thing, you getting in your mama's business to have that conversation. Yeah. So, I mean, do you think, looking back at, who your mom always was, independent, and I want to paint a picture for everybody. Your mom, a little petite woman. She was fancy. That's the word that I would use to describe her. She was always just dressed,
Absolutely.
hair done. I mean, just a very girly type of woman, So I can only
like me.
nothing like either one of us.
I know.
We were like two little very practical.
Yes, very practical. Jeans.
It's like, is it functional?
Exactly. I'm good. Not her. The bracelets, the earrings, all of it.
Yeah, I mean, do you think your mom would have been open to that conversation a few years before this happened?
I think she would have been open to it. It would have been, how you say, a little pulling teeth, but she would have been open to it. Yeah. I mean, 'cause we had some candid conversations, and she we rocked the boat a little bit on some of those conversations, and she would make it clear of how far to go. And so it would be definitely one of those that you just slowly, maneuver yourself into. No.
What do you wish you would have asked her? If you could have just sat down, knowing that this was going to happen, what do you wish you would have checked on?
I wish I would have known more about her health. And I knew she was diabetic. I knew she had high blood pressure, but it was one of those, she has medication, she functioning well, she doing good. Didn't I know she would let her sugar levels and didn't know she was insulin dependent.
You didn't know that?
Didn't even know she was insulin dependent.
Was that pride that kept her from telling you?
I'm assuming it was. Because it was never, shared. And then found out not only insulin dependent, but heavily insulin.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So insulin dependent, and this, were the doctors able to piece together like the timeline of maybe what had been happening?
Absolutely.
And you just missed the sign or weren't there to see the signs?
She had been complaining and this took a while too after I sat down, because everything was so fast and furious once it happened. After I had an opportunity to just kind of relax and really think back on conversations she would share with me, or I would share with our aunt, she'd be like, I'm not feeling well today. I'm dizzy. She kept complaining I'm dizzy. And we were just like, oh goodness, here she go being dizzy,
Dramatic.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that's what we think.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Mama just don't feel like being bothered today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, didn't know about the insulin piece. And then next thing you know, you go to the doctor and he was like, well, she was here a couple of months ago and she let her numbers get as high as 500. Oh, yeah.
Okay. I actually understand those numbers.
Yeah. So we warned her and we told her, that if she continues like this, she could possibly lose a leg or possibly, and I'm sitting there going, what? And they were like, yeah. And I've been like, wow. And then, I'm learning, well, how many units is she taking? She was taking like 60 units in the morning, 60 units at night, 120 a day. Huge number.
Okay.
My mama, and this is what's so sad about it, and that's what really is when I say I wish I had known more about it, is she would, Sunday afternoon, we'd go by her house and she done made a 7-Up cake. And she's sitting up there drinking a Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
And then she'd be like, let me go in here and take my diabetes medicine. And so, you're just thinking, okay.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, I'm going to still eat 4 pounds of sugar, but at the same time, I'm going to give me my insulin shot.
I'm going to keep cutting myself in the same spot and put a Band-Aid on.
Yes.
But not going to do anything about the cut. Because this Band-Aid is good enough. I can still function that way. Yeah. Oh, so we need to have some very serious conversations with mom and dad about their health, their medication, know what the doctors have told them.
Right.
And
I mean, you know how you hear I'm going to the doctor. Guess what? You need to take a ride with them one time. And
you do.
Get in the car and go with them and ask those questions that they don't want you to. I mean, And I also found out too is that she had a doctor that would prescribe her whatever she wanted to get.
So holding the doctors accountable as well.
That's right. I mean, you got to go in there and ask those, well, why is she on that? Well, you know, I did notice this. Well, help me out here. I researched this and I saw online. Again, I'm not a doctor, but I do have questions. I mean, because they go in and it's just the same old, oh, I've had him for 20 years. And they just, oh, you're not feeling well? Well, let me give you, yeah.
I'm having a lot of thoughts.
I'm telling you.
I'm having a lot of thoughts.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay.
The health questions are the critical questions.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. The health questions, the insurance questions,
Long-term insurance,
and then their wishes just about care in general.
That's correct.
Those are some heavy conversations.
Those are very heavy conversations, especially with that generation.
Yeah, and then that's when the roles are switching.
That's right.
You know, you are the one that is.
That's where the gap came from.
Yeah.
It's that generational gap. Because we're considered the sandwich generation, where our parents are, you know, needed some help from us, and we are just kind of still raising our own kids.
Right.
And we're in the middle, still trying to raise our kids, but at the same time, we're all having to take some responsibility for taking care.
Yeah.
And that's what I fell into is when my son was 11, and then now I'm taking care of him and I'm taking care of my mom.
Right. Yeah. It's like you need to create a manual. You know, we got all the baby books, like you said.
Yes. I mean, there's tons of to-dos and how-to, but and the advocacy, you know, I mean, it's nobody thinks, guess what, you're going to get old too.
We don't.
You're going to need someone to bag those groceries. You're going to need someone to walk you across.
Girl.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you know, like he gave the example of the lady that you and Corbin helped. And then I'm transposing that your mom's face on that person in that situation, you know, and I was just like, that would be heartbreaking if I just happened to walk up one day and say, what's up? You know, mom, everybody's mama. Hey, mama, what you doing? You know, and to see that person struggling or helpless, and there's nobody there.
Yeah.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Well, let me ask you this because, like, right now, you're actively. You have the company. You are doing this service, but you are still very much in this life of caring for your mom. So, I mean, what is the daily routine change like?
Oh, wow. How much time do you have for that? Oh, wow. I am blessed to where now that, you know, we're in the rhythm, I have a caregiver that comes out in the morning, you know, because I still have a full-time job in addition to Tim Gap, you know, and so with my full-time job, I leave out at 5:45 in the morning. And so what I do is I check on her and make sure she's good, check her levels and all of that. And then her caregiver comes in around 9-ish, 10-ish.
Okay.
And gets her up, gets her moving, gives her meds, gives her bath, makes her breakfast, gets her going. And so with her also suffering with dementia, you know, they do little brain games and they go outside, they do some, you know, little physical activities. And then she'll leave around midday, around 2-ish, because that gives her breakfast and lunch. And so during that time, she'll make her lunch, and then she's good to go, and it's nap time. And so then my mom will go down for nap, and by the time it's time for her to get
You know
up,
what this is sounding like.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just, you're a baby.
Yeah.
It's a baby.
Yeah.
I'm rolling in, if I don't have to work late, I'm rolling in around 5-ish, and now I'm home, and I take over that piece of, okay, mama, let's get up, and let's move around it. So she has, you know, some shortcomings of, different health issues that, we have to go through. But one thing I definitely have not mentioned, and I think it's important when you say the day-to-day, and it never hit me until I was years in and somebody brought it up and I said, I never even thought of her. Mm-hmm. And they said, can you imagine what she's feeling like? Going from being so independent to now having to depend on you to do everything she used to do. Yeah. She wants to do it. She wants to remember, but she can't. And the mental state that may have been put, because there's some days she's good to go, and there's some days she's just so stoic and just quiet and sad. And sad. And
there's a human being still
there's a
there.
human being still in there. And a lot of times, as you're going through that, you're just, okay, me. I'm like, all right, mama, let's go. All right, we're 40 minutes behind. Let's go. Let's get ready to take a bath. And it's just those moments where I'm like, and she's looking at me like, I have to do everything you say. And then I never stop and go, what do you want to do? Or what do you, I do, but not where it's a point of, this woman went 70 plus years independent, and now she's having to look at her daughter, and her daughter's telling her when to take her meds, when to take a bath. Don't eat that. Don't eat this.
Did you take your medicine?
Yeah.
You didn't take your medicine? Okay, we're going to have a fight now because you didn't take your medicine.
We're not going to wear those shoes.
Yeah.
We're not going to wear this outfit. And it's one of those things where it never hit me. And I can't remember who brought that up to me. Yeah. But it was like a light bulb of like, you're right. She's still human. She still feels. She still knows. But, yeah. So those day-to-days of that, there's some days she's here and she's good. And there's some days where, she's just going with the flow. Like today, we got her going and, gave her breakfast and lunch and said, hey, we'll be back. And she's taking a nap when we left.
So I'm hearing the in-home care, and I'm coming from a totally non-educated, viewpoint. That sounds like that's pricey. So in-home care versus a facility versus, what are the options that we need to be aware of?
Okay, for example, let's say she was at at any point, if it got to where I'm like, you know what, I'm no longer able to take care of her. I'm gonna have to put her place her in a nursing home.
Or she just needs more care.
Or she needs more care. Right. So if she needs more care, needs more care and assistance, that's out of pocket. All that's out of pocket. Medicare and Medicare and Cigna, those insurances don't pay for someone to come in and help. You pay out of pocket. So I pay out of pocket for this woman to come Monday through Friday. Yeah.
Okay. Nobody's advocating for them. And there's absolutely no financial help when you want to. Okay. Okay.
Now she qualifies for Medicaid. Then yes, you get on. I think you get 12 hours a week of somebody. Don't quote me on that, but I don't know because she doesn't qualify. And so, but I think it's either 12 to 15 hours a week that Medicaid will allow for someone to come in and help with toiletry, getting dressed, whatever, showers, that kind of stuff. But she doesn't qualify, and so. That's all out of pocket.
Wow. So we have some things that we need to do some homework on right now. So like you said, you want us to talk about the history of their health. Yeah. Because you need to know that too, because we're mid-fight.
That's right. That's right.
I'm going to the doctor every doggone time and they're asking me the 45 questions. Yes. And I'm like, dog it. I don't remember what Uncle Junior had, I know he died, but what
I don't know when he died. Exactly. Right.
So you try, because these things are starting to pop up. Things don't feel right. And you're trying to point to what branch on the family tree is doing this.
Yes. And then you catch yourself. Do you ever catch yourself? You'll say all these ailments, and then your mom would sit there 1 minute and go, oh yeah, your uncle had that. And you're just like,
Yeah.
really? Didn't I know that?
Because we don't talk
Thank
about
you.
it. We don't talk
We
about
don't
it.
talk about
Like you said, grown folks' business that doesn't don't get talked about in front of you.
Yeah, we don't talk about that in front of
Yeah, you know that your old aunt died, but nobody said that she had a double mastectomy.
Yes.
And we don't talk about that.
Nobody talks about it.
So we got to have the conversations about health.
Yeah.
We definitely got to have conversations about their insurance.
Yes.
And then their wishes about, life, possessions, and all that jazz. But
Well, it's
for
not even
us,
just possessions. Whether or not they even want to stay in their home. That's a whole nother
that's a big,
component, too.
yeah, because
Not wanting to leave.
that changes if they
versus
want to
wanting
stay.
to go to a facility. And a lot of them do not want to leave their home.
Do we need to have some things in place, and I'm thinking like financial documents, legal documents.
Yes.
Because if
Living will.
Yeah.
Power of attorney.
Okay.
Yes, all of those. Absolutely.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's
A living will, a regular will, a power, all of that. Yep. Medical power of attorney, financial power of attorney, all of that.
do you think there's a certain age where that's no longer a luxury? Like this is your deadline to have that conversation with mama and daddy, or what age range are you seeing your clients?
I honestly wish I had done that as soon as grandchildren kicked in. Yeah. I mean, now if they're grandmas and grandpas at that point, absolutely have that conversation.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you'll be shocked. I mean, you'll get on the phone and they're like, I'm sorry, I can't tell you any of that information. What is your name? Oh, you're not, she doesn't have you on here. You're not authorized. And you're just like, lady, I'm taking care of her.
She is sitting right here.
She's right here.
I'm trying to get her prescription filled.
Yes, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell me, with all of us that are listening to this story right now that are trying to prepare ourselves,
Yes.
because you've now scared the hell out of me. You have scared the hell out of me.
Don't be scared.
I don't have any of this taken care of.
Get prepared. How's that?
Oh, make a t-shirt. Make a t-shirt.
Yes.
Don't get scared. Get
Get
prepared.
prepared.
Okay. So I'm coming to Gen Gap Living, and I want to, be ready for mom and daddy. Should we talk to you ahead of time, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And then I can guide you on guide you on the conversations that you should approach your parents with.
Oh, that would be excellent.
Absolutely. Guide
Okay.
you on, because you don't want to overwhelm them, because, I mean, at first it kind of can come across real cold because it's so business-like.
Yeah.
But it's business and it's sensitive.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about them not being able to take care of themselves.
Yeah. We're invincible. We're gonna live forever. We gonna live forever.
You'd be shocked. A lot of people don't like you to share what kind of medications they're taking.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to know what kind.
I found out kind of accidentally that my dad was diabetic.
See?
Yeah. He just happened to mention, recapping a doctor's appointment and blah, blah, blah. And he told me this, and he told me if this was him talking about the doctor. And then I was just like, whoa, rewind?
Yeah.
What did you just say?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, and same thing. Had somebody come to me and said, hey, your dad just, whatever happened to them due to his diabetes, I'd have been like, he was what?
Diabetes, right. What do you mean? My dad
You
had
got the wrong dude.
Yes.
But one thing, with my parents, one thing I will say is that they keep up with their doctor's appointments. I get the highlights, I don't get the, whatever scolding that happens from the doctors. But you've now, like I say, you've scared the hell out of me. So I need to go have some very targeted conversations because.
Who are their doctors? Like my mom has. With her
Good question.
Yes, you have a retina doctor because she also has glaucoma.
Okay.
And you have a regular ophthalmologist for her eyes to make sure the pressures are good because she's diabetic. Then you have your regular internist doctor. And then now we have a new doctor. Now we have an endocrinologist doctor that has kicked in. And it's crazy. And, and I mean, I have literally just a Google Doc with all of her stuff, and then all of mine, and then all of my sons, because,
You've learned a lot.
yeah, I mean, and if you don't have it, you don't know, and you're just guessing, and it's not fun. It's not fun.
This has been very educational, but Even, and I'm saying all this because I know I can pick up the phone and text you in 5 minutes and ask.
Of course.
So, I mean, I'm lucky to have that
Absolutely.
association, but the majority of the people that are listening to this podcast right
Yes.
now, I'm sure they're terrified, like, holy crap,
No, don't
I
be
need
terrified.
to look this up. So
Yeah.
where can they find more resources about Gen Gap living?
I'm online. It's gengapliving.com. And there's a section in there where you can sign up and just give me your name, number, and email, and I'll get back to you. And literally, I mean, the first conversation we have is on me. It's just to help you and guide you. And at that point, if you decide to, utilize us and utilize our resources, we'll go from there. But just pick up the phone and call or email, and I'm more than happy to. The blessing in it is I'm passionate about it because, like I said, I'm gonna be one of them myself, and all I keep looking at is, oh my gosh, are you gonna help me with my groceries? I mean, people don't get it. We're gonna be old too,
If we're blessed to be here.
I'm saying, and,
Yeah.
and it's important that, as goes even back to biblical, is your elders, you gotta take care of. Gotta take care.
That is so true. That is so true. And just in general, in this country, we need to do a better job.
Oh, big time.
Gosh.
Big time.
Okay. I am very glad you were here. You have preached an entire sermon, dissertation, thesis, all of that. Because
Well, you're the doctor, girl. Not me, girl. I didn't do that dissertation.
hey, no,
I
but
thought about it and I said, nah, I'm good.
yeah, there was something else for you to
Yeah,
get
I'll
busy
see
with. So, hey, I appreciate you being here, man.
Hey,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you inviting me. This is great, and I'm so excited for you. I'm excited for you.
Well, I'm excited for you to lead us into this next season that we need to be more educated about.
No, it's 50 plus, girl.
All right.
Yeah, I like it.
All right. Thank you, Miss Chaundy.
Thank you, Miss Akilah.